Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today we are joined by Susanne Williams, who is Revenue and Systems Director over at Journey. Susan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thank you.
How are you doing?
Good, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. I just want to say, I know you're incredibly busy at the moment, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I suppose let's get straight into it. So it'd be great to understand what your background is, how you discovered revenue management, and what's actually put you into your current role now.
Okay, well, I think we spoke briefly yesterday just on all subjects revenue, and I think I announced quite loudly that I was in hospitality before revenue management was even a thing. We still sent out brochures and tariffs back in 1994. So I've had the pleasure of seeing the evolution of systems, tech, revenue, marketing, all of it. Now, I started luxury hotels, really chateau, small luxury, all about, sorry, that's my calendar beeping, which has distracted me. So it was all about the service. And when I started in hotels, I absolutely fell in love. The performance, the attention to detail, and just how the whole machine worked. So I've made quite a bold statement when I was 20 that I was going to be a GM by the time I was 26. That's what I'm going to do. So I kind of set about that plan, really. I worked for the Vineyard at Stockcross in Berkshire as part of the opening. I worked for Summer Lodge. And then I joined 40. Now, that was on a very clear directive from a boss of mine who basically said, it's all well and good working in beautiful luxury hotels, but you need to learn how to make money. So that's what I did. So I was 24, 25 when I joined 40. I was rooms division manager on the M25 corridor for heritage hotels, which was insane. It was fast-paced, inventory changed all the time. Now, bearing in mind, I didn't even know what forecasting was, so it was a massive risk for 40 to employ me. I had amazing training. I spent 4 to 6 weeks going round all their top rooms division managers and just learned and loved it. The forecasting, the segmentation, the distribution. 1AI was our system, and IGS, and I absolutely fell in love with it. But I always knew that I was a hospitality girl, so the customer facing side of it was important for me too. So moving on from 40, I joined Alias, which were a little boutique hotel group, really funky, and I ran their London property when I was 26 in Notting Hill. So I thought, made it, here's me, 26 years old, shimmying around Notting Hill. It was great fun, and it just went from there, and I was a GM for quite a few years, and then when I was 35, 36, I started my own sales business, very revenue focused, but we were called Director of Sales, and it was about bringing top flight commercial knowledge and experience to independent hotels that couldn't necessarily afford to employ someone on a full-time basis. So with my operational background and knowing how to run a P&L, it just flew. It flew. And I did that for 11 years. Moved up to Cheltenham. And the sales was a lot of fun, but I kind of recognised that tech was changing really quickly, that all the platforms that hotels worked on was AI, and there just was so much going on. And Journey were always kind of there in the background. I knew what was going on with them. I'd met Simon a couple of times, but spoke about some of his developments, and Journey for me was just the right time, the right decision, and I just joined. Simon was like, come and join us, and I was there 2 weeks later. So I think my real rationale behind that was, 100 heads are better than one, and when you're leading like a small team, you've got lots of hotels, lots of owners, lots of challenge. Sometimes it's just nice to have a much bigger team behind you, and then to show a bit more leadership, and I really missed that. So that's what I'm doing now.
Brilliant. I think it's interesting because, as you said, we spoke at sort of length yesterday about backgrounds and how people got into revenue management. And yours is incredibly varied, but also, by today's standards anyway, quite unusual in the fact that you didn't come from that sort of reservations, traditional side of things, or a junior analyst type thing. It was very much from a operational and sales side. And to be honest with you, I think in a lot of ways, and you'll probably agree with me here, but from an influence and communication skill and so on and so forth, that background probably put you in very good stead for your more commercial and revenue focused roles. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong there, but it sounds about right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, working in the luxury hotels, you get involved in everything. But my first love was always rooms. And I mean, this was, a hotel with 2 Michelin stars, and, that was, chefs were everything in those properties. Food and beverage kind of ruled. So my food and beverage experience, knowledge of managing that is, I married a chef as well. So you can bring that to the party too. I had a very full picture, and I was really lucky. I was really appreciative of all the support that I got when I was much younger. I think I was 23 when I had my first kind of management position in a luxury property, and I was really well supported.
Well, I think that definitely needs to be one of the biggest focuses right now, is supporting our revenue guys, but also people from other, for the want of a better phrase here, but other silos to go into revenue if they find it interesting. Because one of the biggest conversation pieces that I've been having recently with certainly commercial leaders in either single properties or slightly larger organizations has always been there is an interest in these other departments that want to find out more. And in some cases actually want to get into revenue, but they have no idea how the hell to do it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that support network needs to be there. In terms of obviously talking about right now, so I suppose what do you believe the priority for revenue management functions needs to be now?
Well, it's a really interesting time, isn't it, for all hospitality businesses? And it's a tricky question for me because being around for so long, not having revenue management as that kind of discipline where we did everything. When I was rooms division manager, I looked after front office, events, business development, everything, housekeeping, nights, across 2 properties. So, but the actual core function was still revenue. You're still forecasting, you're still looking at your segmentation and distribution. So I'm wondering if there'll be more of a lean back to having a broader role. Yes, it's still very commercially led, but where you've actually got more influence, because influence and authority when you're running a business is paramount. And I think revenue management, it's well recorded that I see this kind of thing, but there's too much navel gazing goes on. We need to have a broader approach and actually understand that revenue management is about driving top line sales and managing it correctly and driving profit all the way down to the bottom line. That's the priority and always should be. I don't think that that's going to change, but how revenue managers can influence and affect that, I think will, and I think the role will become broader.
Well, I think that actually brings me on to my next question. I mean, what do you believe the biggest revenue challenges are right now in terms of actions that need to be taken to overcome those challenges, which probably leads on to what you were saying, in fact?
Yeah, I think revenue managers can have their heads down and their bums up too much in spreadsheets and really lack the time, actually, and maybe a little bit of confidence when you've got a bullshit big personality GM, challenging that to kind of say, no, hold on a wee second, your decisions need to be based on, the work that I do. I think that's quite hard. And I would like to see more support along those lines for revenue managers that are looking to move through the ranks, with confidence, that where do they go to get that coaching and mentoring? If you've got old school food and beverage led GMs, my view is that revenue managers and rooms people can't run the world, but really it's a challenge each day, and I think influencing authority is pretty much where we should be focusing our time. I
love that statement. The fact that revenue managers could run the world. I actually kind of agree with you. Maybe I'm biased, I don't know, but no, completely. I I completely agree with your point about having those influence skills, but also having a bit more of a presence in the room. I think, being almost sort of washed by a GM that has that big personality or has that characteristic of being quite overpowering and doesn't quite understand what's going on from the revenue management point of view. And without that revenue manager being able to communicate effectively, it can be quite a difficult relationship at best, I suppose.
Yeah, I also think that, hotel operations is 24/7. You are immersed in delivering this amazing guest experience. So, and that's what's important. You're faced with a guest, you deal with that first. Whereas what the revenue discipline should be doing is working in the background and planning, planning for those gaps, those peaks and troughs. And it doesn't seem quite as urgent. So the skill set that you need to deal with the guests on a day-to-day basis to problem solve, firefight, and really deliver exceptional care and service is quite different. And I think it's more valued on the shop floor than working in the back of an office where you can work Monday to Friday. And, I think there's that culture imbalance too. But also, we talked about this yesterday, but it's about that hunger and that want to progress. If you do want to move through the ranks, you have to learn your industry. And that means getting out from behind your desk, experiencing what's going on the floor, get yourself behind the front desk. What are your systems doing? Do you know and understand exactly what that information is telling you? The reception always know the guest types. They can affect, influence and change what you think you know. So there's lots of conversations to be had, and really breaking down the barriers and not being defensive over, this is my area, I think would stand revenue management in much better stead, really.
Yeah, no, completely. And again, it's like we were saying yesterday, I couldn't agree with you more. And I don't think it matters in terms of the background of the individual. As you said, it matters about the passion they've got, the drive. If they want to achieve it, they will. They will start contacting the right people in the business, or in fact, outside of the business, other people in the profession, other people in the industry, just driving their own career rather than just relying on somebody else, as I said yesterday, to take their hand and guide them through it, because unfortunately, that's just not what the world is like. I suppose, moving on to Journey and obviously what you guys are doing. So, what's been going on with Journey during the pandemic? Is there anything interesting or exciting that's happened?
Yes, well, there's always interesting, exciting things going on at Journey. It's quite a fast-paced, innovative agency. So we've got the agency side, which very much focuses on hotel marketing, and then we've got the tech division. So it's all the excitement actually has been happening in the tech division, where we've been working on a platform called One Journey. Now, from my perspective as a hotelier and a revenue-based manager, your platforms that guests book on are massively important, and as are your channels. But the one thing that the hotel industry has never quite nailed is that guest experience online from their own website. A booking engine, your spa booking, your table reservations, your gift voucher, any retail. You have to go through various different clunky systems in order to achieve, that kind of, you don't get a retail experience, do you? It's quite archaic. So Simon a few years ago was kind of like, goodness, this is a no-brainer. So had been working on the development of that one interface where it's far more slick, the sales opportunities, conversions better, where you can basically add your room, add your spa experience, add retail, get whatever you want, the hotel sales, events, all of it on one interface. And we're getting ready to launch that. So it's just in beta testing. It's One Journey. So the guest experience moving online, well, Journey have come up with the kind of suite of products that actually makes that a far nicer experience. And because Journey is a marketing agency with just an exceptional creative team, it just engages the audience. It just looks fabulous. So it sits behind the systems. We've not developed the holy grail of having one system that does everything, because is that ever going to happen? But we are the platform that interfaces between these systems and delivers that knockout guest experience. So that's tech. The other side of the agency, that like everyone, we've reviewed our business, we've looked at what's going on, what hoteliers need, and we're moving very much towards full performance, because as hotels consolidate, what they do. You know, like we said a minute ago, it's very much about the guest experience and delivering on the floor, on the shop floor. Well, in the background, that commercial aspect of what hotels do is fast-paced, it changes quickly, you need to be on it, you need to be really more strategic. So Journey are moving with that and making sure that each one of our programmes, revenue, digital, social, content styling and web development are 100% about performance. So actually, yes, we deliver amazing creative marketing campaigns, but you know, there is a number behind that says, well, what do you expect to achieve? Because we're going to achieve it, and this is how we're going to do it. So less marketing fluff. And I'll get, you know, I'm not a marketing girl. I am obviously a marketing girl, but it's not, for me, it's always about the performance. It's about the numbers and achieving it. And yes, all the stuff that fits behind that to make it look fabulous, but I'm always the one that's pushing for more. So things have changed a little bit at Journey.
Well, it's brilliant to hear that obviously all these big changes are coming through from both sides rather than just one specific, I suppose, project or initiative. One thing that I was going to say is this due to an opportunity to almost press the reset button or take a pause and go on? Because a couple of conversations I've had recently have been the businesses that will really struggle will be the ones effectively in tech debt in this environment where they just don't have the systems to be able to back what they're doing, compared to other businesses that have the advanced tech, that have the up-to-date systems that will allow them to drive business naturally rather than having to compete and use old systems and having to plug certain holes and so on. So rather than having those difficulties, do you think that means Journey will be ahead of the pack, if you like, in terms of that area?
100%. And actually, you know, we talked about this on Revenue Hacks a few weeks ago, where there's your cloud-based systems, your PMS, your CRS, your distribution channels, and the real unwillingness of hoteliers to move away from those legacy systems. Now, we were all asked the question, are you going to go legacy system or cloud-based? And every one of us said, well, legacy systems, because the data's better. And it's not, you don't automate for the sake of automating. You still need insight, experience and knowledge to execute the decisions that are made. Yes, you can use tools to help support those functions, but actually, you know, when you know your business inside out, it's the people. You know, this is hospitality. This is a people front-facing led business. And yes, you know, use the tools, but I wouldn't suggest to a hotel, go ahead, move to AI, change all your systems. You know, it's going to revolutionize your business. It's not. What's going to change your business is having a core commercial plan that actually you know how to execute, you know who your target audience are, and the experience side of it's communicated well through a good tone of voice, nice creatives and exceptional sales. Answer that phone, because it's still quite a big chunk of your direct business. So let's think about all the channels, and what Journey are doing basically is saying, well, we're not asking you to invest hundreds of thousands of pounds in changing systems. We're just giving you a solution to make that customer experience 100 times better. Yeah. So that's why I think we're all quite excited about it. The feedback for it's good. Like everything, you know, it will develop and evolve. But for something that's quite simple, here's an interface that works. We connect to your systems that exist. And if you need help and support sorting those systems out and getting a good plan in place, talk to us.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Proper solution.
As I said, it's exciting to hear, as I said, not just from one aspect from the tech side, but also the other initiative on the other side as well, meeting in the middle, if you like. Susan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I said, hearing about your varied background, the controversial sort of statement of revenue managers could rule the world if they wanted to, I suppose. But are they that way inclined? Probably not. I think we'll probably try and leave those to the salespeople, maybe. But thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, guys, make sure you tune in to who's on next week's episode now.